French President Emmanuel Macron has announced the initiation of technical-level discussions aimed at re-establishing communication channels between European institutions and Russia, representing a significant development in European diplomatic strategy regarding the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. These contacts operate within what French officials describe as operational rather than political frameworks, suggesting an approach that emphasizes practical coordination mechanisms while maintaining broader policy positions. The initiative occurs within the context of continued military operations and raises questions about the relationship between diplomatic engagement and conflict resolution processes. This analysis will examine three key dimensions of this diplomatic development. First, we will assess the stated parameters and objectives of these technical discussions within the broader context of European foreign policy coordination. Second, we will analyze the relationship between European diplomatic autonomy and existing alliance coordination mechanisms, particularly regarding Ukraine policy. Third, we will explore the implications of parallel diplomatic and military tracks for conflict resolution prospects and European strategic positioning. The factual foundation begins with Macron's official statements confirming the establishment of technical-level communication channels with Russian counterparts. These discussions are characterized as preparatory rather than substantive negotiations, focusing on operational coordination possibilities rather than immediate political settlements. French officials have emphasized that these contacts maintain transparency with Ukrainian leadership and operate within existing alliance frameworks, rather than representing independent European policy initiatives. The technical nature of these discussions suggests focus on practical coordination mechanisms such as humanitarian corridors, civilian protection measures, or infrastructure security arrangements. This operational approach allows for engagement on specific issues while avoiding broader political negotiations that might conflict with established alliance positions or Ukrainian sovereignty concerns. The distinction between technical and political engagement provides diplomatic space for practical cooperation while maintaining policy coherence across different alliance frameworks. Coordination with Ukrainian leadership represents a critical component of this initiative, with Macron specifically emphasizing transparency and consultation with President Zelensky regarding European contact with Russia. This coordination mechanism aims to address potential concerns about independent European diplomatic initiatives that might undermine Ukrainian negotiating positions or create divisions within Western alliance structures. The emphasis on Ukrainian involvement reflects lessons learned from previous diplomatic efforts where coordination gaps created tactical advantages for opposing parties. The strategic context involves European efforts to develop autonomous diplomatic capabilities while maintaining alliance cohesion and strategic coordination. This reflects broader discussions within European institutions about strategic sovereignty and the capacity to manage regional security challenges through independent, rather than exclusively transatlantic mechanisms. The development of European diplomatic tools serves both immediate conflict management objectives and longer-term strategic autonomy goals. Regional security arrangements involve multiple overlapping institutions and bilateral relationships that affect the feasibility and effectiveness of different diplomatic approaches. NATO coordination, European Union foreign policy mechanisms, and bilateral relationships between individual European countries and both Ukraine and Russia create complex coordination requirements for any diplomatic initiative. The success of European-led diplomatic engagement depends on managing these multiple relationships without creating policy contradictions or tactical vulnerabilities. The timing dimension reflects assessments of potential diplomatic opportunities based on military developments, domestic political changes, and international pressure dynamics. French officials have suggested that demonstration of Russian peaceful intentions could facilitate expanded diplomatic engagement, though this expectation operates without guarantees regarding Russian policy positions or negotiating approaches. The relationship between diplomatic initiatives and battlefield developments creates dynamic conditions where engagement opportunities may emerge or disappear based on military and political circumstances. The core analytical question centers on how technical diplomatic engagement can operate effectively alongside continued military operations and fundamental policy disagreements. Traditional diplomatic theories suggest that meaningful negotiations require some alignment of interests or recognition of mutual benefits from engagement. Current conditions involve continued active combat operations that affect the credibility and sustainability of diplomatic initiatives, regardless of their technical or operational focus. The mechanism through which technical discussions might influence broader conflict dynamics operates through several potential channels. Practical coordination on humanitarian issues or civilian protection could build confidence and demonstrate the viability of diplomatic solutions to specific problems. Success in limited areas might create momentum for expanded engagement or provide templates for addressing more substantial disagreements. However, the effectiveness of this approach depends on both parties viewing technical cooperation as beneficial rather than advantageous primarily to their opponents. European diplomatic strategy reflects broader institutional preferences for multilateral approaches and negotiated solutions to international disputes. The European Union's foreign policy framework emphasizes diplomatic engagement, economic tools, and institutional mechanisms rather than primarily military responses to security challenges. This institutional orientation creates both capabilities and constraints for managing conflicts that involve significant military dimensions alongside diplomatic possibilities. The operational challenges of maintaining technical dialogue during active military operations include practical coordination difficulties, security concerns, and political sustainability questions. Communication channels must operate securely while maintaining transparency with alliance partners and avoiding information that might provide tactical advantages to opposing military forces. The credibility of diplomatic engagement faces constant testing against concurrent military developments that may contradict stated peaceful intentions. The key variable here often receives insufficient analysis in public discussions. The sustainability of technical diplomatic engagement depends on domestic political support within participating countries for policies that involve continued communication with adversaries during active conflicts. Public opinion regarding engagement with Russia varies significantly across European countries, affecting the political feasibility of sustained diplomatic initiatives regardless of their technical merits. Alliance coordination mechanisms must balance European diplomatic autonomy with broader strategic coherence and Ukrainian sovereignty considerations. Effective coordination requires information sharing, consultation processes, and policy alignment that may constrain the flexibility and responsiveness of European diplomatic initiatives. The tension between autonomous European action and alliance coordination creates ongoing management challenges for diplomatic strategy implementation. This creates constraints on European diplomatic flexibility, where alliance commitments and Ukrainian coordination requirements may limit the scope and timing of engagement opportunities. European negotiators must balance responsiveness to diplomatic openings with consultation obligations that may slow decision-making processes. The effectiveness of European diplomacy depends on managing these coordination requirements without losing strategic initiative or tactical flexibility. Now, the second-order effects become apparent in broader alliance relationship dynamics and conflict resolution strategy evolution. Success or failure of European diplomatic initiatives affects transatlantic burden-sharing arrangements and European strategic autonomy development. Effective European conflict management could demonstrate enhanced European capabilities while reducing American involvement requirements. The precedent established by European diplomatic leadership in this conflict affects expectations and institutional arrangements for future crisis management. Success could strengthen European foreign policy institutions and encourage expanded European responsibility for regional security challenges. Failure might reinforce preferences for American leadership in security affairs while questioning European capacity for independent strategic action. Ukrainian sovereignty considerations require careful balance between supporting Ukrainian agency in conflict resolution and pursuing European diplomatic objectives. Ukrainian concerns about independent European initiatives reflect broader alliance management challenges where different partners may have varying priorities and timelines for conflict resolution. The effectiveness of European diplomacy depends on maintaining Ukrainian confidence while pursuing potentially beneficial engagement opportunities. The relationship between diplomatic initiatives and military support arrangements creates additional complexity where European countries must balance engagement possibilities with continued military assistance requirements. Reduced European military support could undermine Ukrainian negotiating positions, while expanded engagement might create expectations for modified military assistance approaches. The coordination of diplomatic and military tools requires careful attention to their interactive effects on conflict dynamics. Regional security implications extend beyond the immediate Ukraine conflict to broader European security architecture and institutional arrangements. The precedent of European diplomatic leadership affects expectations regarding European roles in other regional security challenges. Success could encourage expanded European engagement in other conflict resolution efforts, while failure might reinforce preferences for alternative institutional approaches. We can identify three plausible scenarios for the evolution of these European diplomatic initiatives, based on current structural factors and stated objectives. The successful coordination scenario involves effective technical dialogue that produces practical cooperation on specific issues while maintaining alliance coherence and Ukrainian support. This outcome requires both Russian engagement and continued European coordination effectiveness. Early indicators for this scenario include sustained technical discussions without major policy conflicts, practical cooperation achievements in areas like humanitarian coordination, and continued Ukrainian endorsement of European diplomatic efforts. Alliance partners demonstrating support for European initiatives, while maintaining their own policy coordination, would indicate successful integration of European diplomatic autonomy with broader alliance coherence. The limited progress scenario involves continued technical discussions without substantial practical outcomes while maintaining current policy frameworks without significant modification. This outcome reflects the difficulty of achieving meaningful cooperation during active conflict while avoiding major alliance coordination failures or Ukrainian concerns about independent European action. Key indicators include periodic diplomatic contacts without concrete cooperation agreements, maintained European military support levels without significant modification, and continued alliance coordination without major policy adjustments. Ukrainian acceptance of continued European engagement efforts without endorsement of specific outcomes would characterize this approach. The coordination failure scenario emerges if European diplomatic initiatives create alliance tensions, Ukrainian opposition, or Russian manipulation opportunities that undermine broader strategic objectives. This could result from insufficient coordination, unrealistic expectations regarding diplomatic possibilities, or tactical exploitation of engagement efforts by opposing parties. Indicators for this path include Ukrainian criticism of European diplomatic initiatives, alliance partner concerns about policy coordination, or evidence that engagement efforts are being exploited for tactical rather than strategic purposes. Reduced effectiveness of military support or economic pressure due to diplomatic engagement would signal potential strategic contradiction. Each scenario carries distinct implications for European strategic autonomy development and alliance relationship evolution. Successful coordination would demonstrate European capacity for independent diplomatic initiative while maintaining alliance effectiveness. This outcome could encourage expanded European responsibility for regional security management and enhanced burden-sharing arrangements. Limited progress would maintain current institutional arrangements, while providing experience for European diplomatic capabilities development. This outcome avoids major risks while building institutional capacity for future crisis management requirements. Coordination failure would highlight limitations of European diplomatic independence and potentially reinforce preferences for American leadership in security affairs. This outcome could delay European strategic autonomy development while requiring renewed attention to alliance coordination mechanisms. Our analysis reveals several confirmed patterns and areas requiring continued monitoring. European efforts to develop autonomous diplomatic capabilities reflect broader strategic sovereignty objectives while creating coordination challenges within existing alliance frameworks. The complexity of managing diplomatic engagement during active conflict requires careful attention to timing, coordination, and strategic coherence. The relationship between technical cooperation and broader conflict resolution remains uncertain given continued military operations and fundamental policy disagreements. European diplomatic initiatives operate within constraints imposed by alliance coordination requirements and Ukrainian sovereignty, considerations that affect their flexibility and effectiveness. However, the development of European diplomatic capabilities serves longer-term strategic objectives, regardless of immediate conflict resolution outcomes. The experience gained through managing these coordination challenges contributes to European institutional capacity for future crisis management requirements. We will continue tracking confirmed diplomatic contacts, coordination mechanisms, and practical cooperation outcomes as they develop. The relationship between European diplomatic autonomy and alliance coordination provides insights into contemporary alliance management challenges. In complex security environments,